Hello, Targar friends. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again, it is time for another Orc Mode workout, and today was Dynamic Effort Bench Press Day. But a quick reminder, for those of you who watch these videos, please click like down below. The majority of you don't do that. Please click like, help me keep the likes higher than the dislikes. It would be greatly appreciated. Just reach down there and do that, because we've got a lot to cover in this video today. All right, wave today, 55% plus 25% chains. So for people who don't understand that, we're calculating off of maxes. So when I say 25% chains, that means 25% of my 1 rep max. Now, because I lost chest strength due to the shoulder inflammation that I've rehabbed, I took basically 12 pounds off of my max for my calculations for these, because I estimate I've lost a little bit. But today's session went really good. I felt a lot of stuff went into its groove, and I'll get into all my accessories as we go as to what I'm doing. But as I told you guys, it's going to be more and more and more volume and smaller movements to continue to focus on body composition heavily. My only, what people would think of as traditional powerlifting type stuff, will be my max work and my speed work every single week. Everything else is going to be, my off days will be plyometrics, restoration, GPP, so it's like sled dragging, box jumps, all that. But my main days, it's going to be a lot of volume, and there's going to be more small movements. Everything is about stimulus to fatigue. I need to maximize hypertrophy in all the muscles that I need to get stronger. And I'm going to continue to bring body weight down. We're down to 219 now. I'll probably get down to, 210. The goal was 215, then assess. I already know I need to get under 215. So speed bench went good. I'm not wearing wrist wraps. In fact, I avoided wrist wraps today because I need to work on squeezing the bar harder. It's something I realized messing with my floor presses last time. I struggle to get in my groove on the floor press with that wide grip because I'm struggling to grip the bar as hard as I should with the wrist wrap. So I really want to focus a little bit on my not heavy work, on just squeezing the hell out of that bar, which when I don't use wrist wraps to keep my hands in position, I have to squeeze the bar harder. All right, well, that'll help my benching, and particularly when I have to go to that wide grip. Like, people have actually pointed out, like, why do you seem stronger on the buffalo bar than the straight bar? Because it's bigger in diameter. I feel like I can squeeze it better. Okay, so I need to work more and more these days on squeezing that bar a lot harder and maintaining that good wrist position. So we're going to do it on the speed work. And this bar is comfortable. Like, I actually am quite fine without wrist wraps on this particular bar just because of that slight angle. It's just really comfortable in my hands. It's really comfortable in my hands. Now, the first few sets of these, they're a little slower than I'd like, but then they got faster as I went. I felt like I got into my groove more and more with each set, to where the speed's getting up pretty decent. And we'll see what happens with the next week of the wave when we go heaviest, and then we'll go 3 weeks of bands. But I feel like this bar works great. And yes, I'm doing close grip on pretty much all of it because I'm faster with close grip. I might start messing with different grip variations in the traditional way of doing wide, medium, narrow. But for now, I'm going to stick with the close grip because I'm more explosive on it. And this accounts for some of my hypertrophy because I'm going to do everything else wide. All right, all my floor pressing and stuff's going to be wide. And we'll talk about floor pressing more as we go. It's going to be a main staple. Like, the floor press seems to do more for my benching than anything else. I've gotten out of practice on it. I've gotten weak at it. That floor press, especially with volume, will really do a lot for my benching. The speed bench does a lot for my benching when I did the waves correctly, in the way that I respond best to, which actually seems to be the most traditional waves, which means the same volumes and percentages, running 25% band and chain with triples. Right, with triples. And of course, adjusting the volume based upon the percentage of that week of the wave and based upon something else. I forget. I'm almost rambling. Oh, whether I'm doing bands versus chains versus straight weight. And with bands, we don't do quite as much volume. We can't handle it. So for people who will say, well, there's a little bit of chain on the ground, it's like I covered last time. Yeah, I'm over on chain weight. Because I know I want the chains to drape the ground a little bit, for my speed work to maintain the proper balance, especially to get that lockout correct where I need it without it swinging on me. I want them touching the ground just slightly at the lockout. So I have actually 6 pounds over. So I have 6 pounds more chain on there than what my needs are. And that helps, right? That helps. That keeps me pretty much where I need to be. But those lockouts were good and strong, right? They're good and strong, getting that full extension, getting that lock. They're hitting it hard against that heavy chain weight. For those curious, that's 91 pounds of chains on the bar. Then we did floor pressing. You know, the first set or two, I felt like I was in my groove. I was going to do 3 sets of at least 12, and I'm like, let me just drop down to a lighter weight, get back in my groove, because I still get a pump. I still get a burn. The first 2 sets, 12 felt hard, but I couldn't quite get in my groove. And then the third set, I really got that grip super tight. I squeezed that bar as hard as I could, and it put me in the right position. All right, this first set, this was meh. I mean, 12 reps. I felt like it was a little hard at the end. So what I'm probably going to do, I'm not going to do a huge amount of sets on these. I'm going to do both days. I'm going to do anywhere from 3 to 5 sets. Okay. I'm going to stick with higher reps, and I'm going to just get stronger and stronger. And you guys know I've been a lot stronger than this on the floor press within the last year, right? This year, earlier this training year. So we'll get back to where we were and then pass it. But I want to focus on 10 to 15 reps. Okay, I don't want anything less than 10. So that means lighter weight, and then we'll build up. But I mean, hopefully the goal will be to get to 225 for up to, 12 to 15 rep sets. Okay, when I get there, I feel like my bench will be doing a lot better, because the closed grip really, or the floor press really carried over a lot for me. And I need to work this wide grip. I need the extra chest. Right, I need the extra chest, and for me, it's not really a range of motion problem. I can touch my chest on the floor press. The only reason it's not touching there is I don't have that much of an arch, and I don't have super full lungs at the bottom. I could reach up and touch my chest at the bar, at the bottom if I want. But it's, again, good enough for now. I just have to arch to do that. So I think I'm about an inch short there with this particular grip. But again, I'm out wide. I'm close to meet legal limit. Right near that edge of that. Because again, I want that wider grip, and I'm fine. I'm not worried about chewing my shoulders up doing it, because I always tell guys, don't do a bunch of volume on wide grip benching. In this case, I'm not worried about it, because the floor press stops me just short of that point where it can cause some internal rotation of the shoulder. So we're building everything up, and then people will say, well, does it still train the bottom? Well, I'm within an inch. I'm just like an inch away. And then further, if I sink it on a pause, but we get 15 degrees of joint angle carryover in performance. You get full carryover. So yes, it will actually carry over. But I lose the ability to use leg drive. I lose my ability to use my lats. One of the reasons I'm so much stronger at close grip is that my lats are strong and they're big. And I can use my lats to pop the weight out of the bottom. So I need more chest so that I can start doing this and continue to build my lats up. Right, if I continue to build my lats, they'll actually help me even with the wider grip. But I need to get good at both, and I don't want to sell myself short on wide grip if I can be stronger. Now, obviously, the one that will count for real PRs or even competition later will be whatever I'm strongest at. I'll do whatever I'm strongest at. But I need to be well-rounded enough that I can do both. And that's the whole idea. That's what we want. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to see. So that last set, I cranked out 15. I got in my groove. I squeezed the bar really, really hard. And what happened? I got 15. So I'm happy with that. So we know I'll probably next workout, I'll come in and try to use that same weight and do some higher volume. Try to see if I can get 15s on every set. And then we'll start working the weight up. And if I have to, I'll switch bars. If we stall, we'll switch bars and keep doing it. Fortunately, I have multiple bars, different bars that I can floor press with. And if worst case, if I feel the grip is really good, I might even do that buffalo bar just for the grip difference. Right? And it would still be a slight different angle. Then we did 5 sets of 12 on the JM press. I know this is a little bit lighter than I have done in the past, even for sets of 10. And people would say, why? Because I want to make sure I have that technique down. I'm doing a lot of tricep work. I can't afford to get joints beat up. So by keeping it a hair lighter, I can get that technique down, and we'll get stronger from here. But I really felt my triceps feeling somewhat limited on the medial head here. So we're good, and keeping in mind I'm going to do more tricep work. The first set wasn't quite a limit set, right? It didn't feel like it, but the later sets did. So we're basically digging in and getting that deep tricep activation. Keeping in mind we did the speed bench with chains, so there's some tricep work there, the floor press. So they are feeling a bit fatigued at this point, but we're going to go ahead and keep hammering triceps. Triceps are going to be an ultra high priority for me because they know they have historically been a weak link in even my close grip benching. To some extent, the wide grip, people could argue my chest and triceps both, right? Because chest does contribute to the lockout, and triceps do contribute to the bottom. People forget that. They forget that, but they do. So with these, we did 5x12. And again, focusing on getting those elbows tucked tight, having good technique, because we need that. We need that good technique on it. And I want that good range of motion, and I want everything to do it without inflaming anything. So because again, I've had some of the shoulder inflammation and other issues happening, I don't want to aggravate it. I don't want my elbows to become a problem. And we're going to have to be careful of that because I'm doing a lot of Skullcrushers, a lot of JM presses. So my solution for that, as you guys know, is to do what? Well, we come in and we do band press down. So I do 3 to 5 sets of high rep band press downs later in the day on both of my pressing days. Okay, normally I would mess with something like that on all days, but I feel like, look, if we're just worried about recovery and building the tendon, let's just do it on these days, and then I have the other 5 days for my triceps to recover. So my triceps get just smashed twice a week, and then I let them completely recover. I'm not doing other work for them. All my GPP and stuff tends to be lower body. It tends to be core, right? So sled drags, plyometrics, reverse hypers, hanging leg raises, crunches, all that stuff that I do on the off days does that, and maybe some extra grip training. Okay, so again, we're trying to stick to the real upper body work, other than all the upper back and mid back and everything, just on these 2 days. At least all the pressing related muscles, and then my triceps and pecs can rest. But I mean, I'm going to take them all the way to maximum recoverable volume, and my exercise selection is reflecting that. So up next, flies, and I've got chains, and I don't really want the chains to unload much at the bottom, so I'm keeping the chain very short. I'm attaching them right onto these things so that over half of the weight is still there at the bottom. So why flies? People will say, well, why not just do another press? Why flies plus tricep extensions? Because I need these muscles to get worked more thoroughly than presses do. And let's come over to training volumes. If I do more heavy pressing, what happens? Well, we put extra stress on the joints. I get plenty of stress on my joints. I max out on benching every week. Okay, that's enough stress there. All this stuff needs to be for me to build up the musculature. And if it means we go to single joint exercises on top of all of it, we do that. And even doing multiple sets of extensions and flies, okay, I'm still getting a slightly better stimulus to fatigue. Now, would I ever recommend people do these as primaries? No. And people need to remember that. I'm not coming in ever and doing these by themselves. I'm always doing multiple presses first. Okay? We're always maxing or speed benching, and then we'll be doing floor presses or something similar. And even the JM press is a multi-joint exercise. So we're doing all of that stuff. We're doing all that stuff, but I need to get in and get that volume. And the thing with flies is that they allow for, again, hair more contraction up at the top. What does that give me? Maybe bench lockout, because on the wide grip bench, even my lockout still is my weakness. We know I need more pec for it. But is that pec just at the bottom, or is it also affecting it at the top? Okay. This is making sure I'm getting that top, and I'm still getting that stretch. I get a good stretch reflex on this. But it's easy to recover from, especially if we keep the reps high. So it's building muscle, building muscle. And again, people would say, well, Jason, would you ever recommend anyone just do nothing with these 15s and 20s and things you do? No. No. These are done for metabolic fatigue after the heavy work. Okay, so I want that to be clear, even though people say, well, this is kind of bodybuilderish. Well, it is bodybuilderish. But context. It's always done after either max work or dynamic work. Always. Okay, and we still do other big movements between. So even on my lower days, I do a bunch of good mornings with heavy weight. I mean, people can argue whatever they want, but when I'm doing 265, even for really high reps, most people out there can't do 265 for 1 rep on their good morning, let alone 3 sets of 20. So again, we're getting all of that muscle involvement. I need my pecs and I need my triceps, both, to grow, and I need them to grow thoroughly. We need to get that stretch reflex. We need to get the contractions. So then we did Skullcrusher. So I did 4 sets of 15, and I pretty much reached failure on that last set, and I'm not used to those. And those curious, I mean, I used just over 34 pounds of chains on each side. My chest is already fatigued, and we'll come in and do this. We'll do the floor pressing, we'll do flies, and we'll do tons of tricep work. And in this case, I mean a big movement for the triceps and a small movement for the triceps. And on this, because I really felt my medial head lighting up, and I almost felt like the elbows were being overused today because of, again, all the JM presses before this, I only did 3 sets. I did 3 sets of 15. Now, last time I did these, I did 5 by 15, but I didn't do JM presses the same day. So between that and then the band press downs later, this is 8 serious direct work sets for triceps, not counting any of the speed bench, not counting the floor press, and we really can count those. But then I'm going to come in and do some band work later. That's a lot of tricep volume. Okay, and it's still, these two are very specific to the benching, and the bands actually work a bit more different muscles. This is very specific to my benching strength. So we're hitting a big movement and a smaller movement. But again, these can both be a little rough on elbow tendons, so we need the band work to offset it. And if it becomes an issue, we always go to accommodating resistance, right? I can always take the JM presses over to reverse bands or chains. I can always add chains for tricep work here, right? We can always do those things. Not an issue if I choose to do it, if it starts to become a situation at the bottom. But we've got to think about triceps in that context. I need my triceps to be strong at the bottom position too. Okay? Triceps don't just lock out your benching. Just like pecs don't just start the bottom. They just have a different curve. But they still contribute. I need them to be strong at their weakest point. Now, if we're worried about the lockout strength, that's the beauty of it again. I can always do accommodating resistance on these movements. I can always add chains or reverse bands or whatever we need to do. And then I do the band press downs, which do hit the lockout harder later. So, not a big deal. Now, these, I had someone say, Jason, you're only still doing the 5 by 15 on these. But I'm also, at this point, I'm trying to go all the way down and spread my scapula apart. I'm getting scapular protraction now. At first, I was struggling with grip on these, being able to get 15 reps with that scapular retraction, so I was maybe cheating a hair. Now I'm over to where I'm like, if I just re-grip on sets, it's fine. So I'm trying to actually spread the scapula at the bottom, make sure that my lats get worked thoroughly, and still train my grip. So I just have to re-grip, because I do 5 sets of these every main workout, so both upper and lower days. But they're really not, even though we call this an upper lower, it's really bench days and then squat and deadlift days. This is an accessory for all 3 movements, right? Middle and upper back contribute to all of them. Grip contributes to 2 of them. In addition to being, good bicep work and obviously all the upper back. But we don't leave this alone to do the upper back. This is a great upper back movement. But my entire shoulder structure and upper back needs to grow. It needs more work. So we're making that an ultra high priority through the week also. So my bench days, we tend to specialize a little more in triceps. But those areas get hit hard every day, every workout, all 4 workouts. So as we watch, as I get to the other movements, we're up to 20 sets of rows of these inverted rows every week and 20 sets of the wide grip upright rows. I'm selecting variations with a good stimulus to fatigue. A lot of these bodyweight type movements like this are easy to recover from. This really tests my grip hard, but there's no loading on the low back. People would say, well, why don't you care about it? Yes, but look at the amount of good morning volumes I do with really heavy weight. Look at the amount of reverse hypers I do with heavy and light weight. My low back is trained all that it needs. I need it to get breaks. Okay, I get all the erector work that I could possibly need between those 2 exercises, and I do a ton of volume and weight on them. I need it to rest. Right? I need all this other stuff to be movements that don't beat up my recovery. And by doing that, I can get away with a lot of volume. And in this case, I'm having to re-grip only 1 set. I think the 4th set I got all the way to the end. And this workout took longer. People always ask, how long do your workouts take? It's not that straightforward because sometimes they get split into 2. I run errands, or like today, I had a 5 a.m. Skype with a client. Okay. I try not to schedule Skypes on these days, but when you have the number that I've got, I have to work people in. I ended up doing 3 Skypes in the middle of my normal training days, this week alone. So I did that, and then I had another one at 9 o'clock. Well, I actually got everything done but these last 2 exercises and then finished these up. So this is coming up later than it could have. And then we do the wide grip upright rows. Now, notice we use a lightweight and we stay strict. Why? Again, less fatigue on my joints, less stress on my back. I'm not dealing with any real axial loading with the lightweight because I'm staying strict and the wider grip. And this is easier on the shoulder joints. This is a movement that I can get away with doing a lot of volume of because I'm doing it in a way that's not counterindicated. Works the entire shoulder structure. All three heads of the delts, the traps, hits at least two heads of the traps. So we're making sure that we're building the whole upper back region, all of it, which includes the rear delts. It includes the entire trap. I've got to maximize all that. I have to. It actually will help all of my lifts. It'll help my bench. It'll help my squat. So it's getting 20 sets for each of these movements every week spread out over the 4 days. Okay. I actually had someone say, you look slightly uneven with this. Well, keeping in mind my old bicep injury on that left side. Okay. Some stuff might look a little uneven. It's unavoidable. So, not much I can do. It might be a little bit. We do the best we can based upon structure. But, it's still work being done, still work being applied to everything. But a very effective movement. But again, notice I'm super strict. I'm gripping very, very wide. This is basically at a snatch grip, more or less. And I will probably work on getting it a hair wider. We stop basically at the lower chest, but we come all the way down. Puts the emphasis a little more onto the rear delt in the trap. But again, this overall forces me to use a lighter weight. Because again, what does Louis Simmons say? We want to get as strong as possible with the lightest weight possible. Because we're going to lift heavy every week. We're going to lift maximally every week. Right? This stuff lets us get all the volume we need to stack on muscle where we need it. Because that's the name of the game now for me too. It's going to be body composition. I've got to gain muscle and I've got to lose fat. I'm going to have to drop body weight, but I need to maximize my muscle growth. That means we use all these methods, right? We don't just do the max work. We don't just do the speed work. We get into a lot of training volume. We know that volume is enormously correlated with hypertrophy. And on these, I'm just using progressive overload. I'm really only doing them to limit sets the last set or two. I probably have a rep or two in reserve on the first set, second set, but I'm also adding microplates. So today I added my microplates, so I went up 2.5 pounds on this. And the last set was challenging, like I had to rest pause the last couple reps. So again, we're just slowly working it up without cheating, keeping it strict. And if I start to stagnate or have any sign of overuse, I can switch something. I can put chains. I can put chains on it. I could switch to my axle bar. We change angles. If we change some angles, we can avoid overuse. So I might go to the axle bar. Now, I hope I'll be able to grip it, but I should. I'm not using so much weight that I shouldn't be able to grip it. I think it'll be fine. Even with a wider grip, that could be harder. But, make it work. But so 5x15 today again on this, which is my normal rep range again, and it's forcing me to use a really light weight. So again, we're easy on the joints, and by keeping it strict with a light weight, safe on the shoulders with the positions I'm doing. And of course, we finished off with curls. Now these I'm using the same weight I've been using because I want to, again, I'm just trying to get volume, trying to make sure I build the tendons, make sure I get blood flow to the biceps, building the biceps in a way that my other movements don't hit. I am doing 20 sets of inverted rows a week. That's a lot of bicep work. But there's no supine grip. And so I want to make sure I work that angle specifically to help, if nothing else, because my biceps never really grow, but hell, they might grow from this because I don't have a history of doing really high rep work consistently. We'll see, they might even grow. But I want to keep those tendons strong. So I want to get that stretch at the bottom against that supine grip so that it helps with the deadlift. The first set of 20 was easy. The second set got harder, but I realized as I went that I needed to do another set. I've been doing 3x20 with this. I upped it to 4x20. And like the second set, I went ahead and did an extra rep. The third set, I did an extra rep. And near the end, the last rep or two, I try to slow down the eccentric a little bit. But I'm keeping these pretty strict, trying to keep them very, very strict, and I'm trying to get that stretch at the bottom. So I actually have my arms pulled forward a little bit so that I can try to get that stretch position on the tendon at the bottom, at the supine position. Because again, I want to have injury resistance on the bicep. Now, as you guys can see here, my weight loss is starting to become apparent. And again, there's still the loose skin, there's still the love handle back there. But until I get leaner, that's not going to go away. But my 11 pound of drop body weight is probably starting to show. like I said, I'll probably get to at least 210 and then we'll assess again. So another 9 pounds, which, is over a gallon of fat, by the way, right? Because it's going to be pure fat. We're going to gain muscle, so we're not going to lose lean tissue. Not going to happen. There's going to be body fat change. This set, I think I did something like 21 also on it. And then I realized, yeah, I really need to do another set to get the training volume because the first set or two really wasn't a failure. So let me see if I can do one fourth set and I'll rest, pause, and try to get extra reps. And I ended up getting on the fourth set about 22. So again, this is a weight that I'm trying to stick with, and I can just add volume with it progressively. And if I get to a point with this barbell to where I don't want it to stagnate too much, if it starts getting too easy, because I kind of want the extra forearm work and I want that to help with, again, bicep tears potentially. But I can always go back to my easy bar. I can go back to my easy bar and do maybe a similar weight. I can add a little bit of weight. It'll probably be a little easier with the different bar. And I'll rotate that in for a bit. So we need to rotate exercises as necessary, but I don't feel any overuse with this, especially with the lighter weight, just doing volume. But I ended up getting like 22 on the fourth set. So again, we're slowly, progressively increasing volume here. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.